Hi, it's Mr. Jones back again, and I'm sitting in my favourite place on my recently completed conservatory roof. One of the first things I did to try and improve the energy efficiency of the house was to remove all the glass and put on insulation, layers of insulation as much as I possibly could, and turn it into quite a warm space. It's actually now the warmest room in the house, so that's really good news. Anyway, this is about DIY energy independence. Firstly, thanks to all the people who viewed the videos and commented. Great discussion. And it's obviously quite an emotive subject. Some got a little bit heated. I enjoyed reading, I enjoyed responding to the comments, even the ones that are critical of my views. It's all really appreciated. Some excellent discussion points over potential storage and other means of generating electricity. Unfortunately, most are not really suitable for DIY. I don't think I'd get planning permission for a thorium reactor in the back garden. I don't have any disused mine shafts to hang weights down, and I'm too far from the coast to have tidal power. Although, who knows, the sea may be getting closer to us in the future. Anyway, I'm going to look at each of the suggestions and put them into perspective and see if there is anything that we could use on a small scale to store energy. It's mainly about storage. I've got lots of ideas, but very little time, unfortunately, to put them into play. I was already looking at gravity systems, and that came up. A number of people mentioned it for storing. So basically, using excess power to lift weights, and then when you need the power, let the weight lower, turning a generator, turning an alternator, and producing power. And I was seriously looking at this because I thought, well, I could do something along those lines here. So I did the maths on it, and I was shocked, and so shocked that I thought I must have got the maths wrong. So I've been over it and over it and over it, and if somebody can tell me I'm wrong, that's fine, but I must have a few decimal places wrong if that was the case. So I looked at the biggest weight I could possibly lift, and 100 kilograms came to mind, and lifting it 10 meters. So my excess solar power would lift this weight through the day, or these series of weights through the day, up to 10 meters, and then when the sun goes down, they would slowly come down, turning that energy back into electrical power. Now then, I checked, it would take 10 kilojoules of energy to lift that 100 kilograms, 10 meters. So that sounds a lot. I think, 10 kilojoules. So I'll get most of that back. Okay, minus inefficiencies, minus friction, minus the losses in the alternator. However, it still could be quite good. But actually, when you do the conversion, it is 0.002778 of a kilowatt hour. So in fact, 2.8 watt hours. Enough to keep an LED light on for an hour. That is all I'd be able to store in 100 kilograms lifted 10 meters. Now this seems to me incredible, but I did see other people did work on this online, and a man put a big water tank on the top of his roof, and through the day he pumped water up into it, and then in the evening he lit a light from it as it generated power. But you put it into perspective, the power he got from it was the same as an AA battery. So as a way of storing power, it seems to be quite inefficient, not inefficient, difficult. It'd be very difficult to implement without using absolutely massive weights and absolutely massive distances. And I think that's why people mention old mine shafts, etc. Anyway, I hope I haven't got a decimal place in the wrong, but I don't think I do. Okay, so that makes me wonder about storage even more. So COP29 is kicking off shortly. Keir Starmer, Ed Miliband are going to be there. And at a time when much of the UK has had about 14 days of zero sunshine and pretty much zero wind. Thankfully today the sun is out and it's great, and the panels are generating again, which is fantastic. So Keir Starmer and Ed Miliband, they plan to decarbonise electricity totally within 5 years. And they want to shut down the 32 gas power stations within the 5 years. Now, this seems an incredible tall order to do that. How are we going to get enough nuclear online? How will we get enough storage online in order to do that? So last week, put it in perspective, last week, solar provided 0.7% of the power for the country, and wind managed just 10.6%. So, the good news is on sunny summer days when the wind's blowing, we could reach 87%, which is fantastic, but that's intermittent. It's planned that during 2025, with extra turbines coming online, that we could see some days when there's no gas power needed. Gas power stations could be shut down on a few days a year. That's a long way from being having secure energy based on renewables, especially as we at the moment do not have the storage methods and in place. So at best it's an intermittent source of energy. I see Ed Miliband has just gone against planning, gone against local people's wishes, and sanctioned hundreds of acres of solar panels on farmland, which seems incredible. There are buildings everywhere which you could plaster with them. Why would we use farmland? It just seems incredible that we would do that. I see the COP29 is being held in Baku, Azerbaijan, a country I know very well. Its economy is based on oil and gas, and pretty much nothing else. They are a major exporter. BP are very strong in that country. And previously it was held in the UAE, which is based on oil and gas, and now some tourism as well, but its foundation is oil and gas. So strange places to be holding COP29 this time. And something very important, whilst we're going to all this trouble, who will not be attending? India, major polluter. China, still building coal power stations. The USA, they're not going. Trump has pulled out of the Paris Agreement, or will do. So the rest of the world is going in one direction and we're going in another. Now my feeling is that we need to be realistic. The emissions of CO2 from the UK are tiny in the scale of the world. Our energy is already pretty much twice the average, especially around the European competitors, which puts us at a huge disadvantage. Meanwhile, China builds more power stations, and Germany burns lignite, of all things, to keep the lights on in Germany, because they had a shortage. They had a shortage of gas, so they will be now scaling down the coal, but that's to run gas because they shut down all their nuclear. So it does seem that we as a country are doing more than our fair share. It would be great to be industry leaders and come up with new technology, but as I said in one of my other videos, Rolls-Royce are coming up with these small pocket-sized nuclear power stations, but no decision's been made. So nothing's happened with that. The nuclear power station that's coming, it's delayed. There have been design flaws. There are all sorts of issues with it. Anyway, from my perspective here today, I'm going to keep this short. My panels over the last couple of weeks have been only managing about 40 watts each. That's on this side and over there. So I've been getting 280 watt hours for about 2 weeks, which is nothing. This house, and it's a big old Victorian house, very drafty, which I'm trying to correct, uses about 24 kilowatt hours of power in a day. I have some electric underfloor heating. So at this time of year, when we have gloomy days like that, I would need 600 panels in order to meet my power requirements. Obviously a lot less in the summer, and the power requirements go down in the summer. But you see the problem, when you need the power most, it's not there. Anyway, I'm going to continue looking at other methods of storage. I'm going to continue looking at how to make my system more efficient and expand it, and hopefully give advice for a small package for anybody who wants to start out with a very small solar system. I started with 2, and I was so fascinated, and I was watching how much power they generated all the time. It's a great kick, and it's a worthwhile thing to do. I am still in favor of every building having batteries, every building having panels, and doing it that way, all interconnected by a web of cables that already exist. Take the load off the grid and keep it local. That would be my view, but it looks as if we're going other ways and we're covering farmland.